Aloha, my friends. In today's video, let's talk about what spirituality is. Now, we're going to go through 6 main points to describe what spirituality is and break that down onto it. And I feel like this is an important topic for us to understand as we live in a world that is physical and spiritual. But not to get ahead of myself, first off, what does spirituality even mean? Now, it's slightly different than religion, where religion is organized and has its own dogmas and belief systems. And some religions keep people trapped in shame and guilt, whether they're aware of it or not. Others aren't, and they're more, allowing people to be more free and so forth. But that's not what we're going to dive into fully on this, but pointing out that spirituality is an exploration of our most inner self and our connection to the universe, the connection to everything that is around us, what I sometimes call the great something. I do refer to it as great spirit, but I also refer to the everything as the great something. Because I believe that there is an unexplainableness to it, and there is certain mysteries that words cannot explain, that can only be experienced. And there are things even beyond that that exist outside of this plane of existence, and even our understanding of them. And so part of that is too that the physical world and the spiritual world are not separate. In a lot of belief systems, those are a huge new revelation here, but some of them do view them as very separate. But in a lot of like my teachings and what I've gone through from my teachers and learned is that spirituality is also understanding that the physical world and the spiritual world are exist at the same time. They're actually here together. In like the Toltec traditions or core shamanism, they call it ordinary reality and non-ordinary reality. Ordinary reality being, like us going to the grocery store, us driving around, dropping off mail, shopping, possibly the job I do. The job you might do might also be non-ordinary reality, meaning that there's some mysticalness to it, there's some spirituality to it, there's some maybe esotericism or, like I said, mysticism in existence to it. And so it's understanding that they are actually connected and they are on top of each other and existing at the same time. We just can't always perceive of them. We can't always perceive of those things. There are, other dimensions and frequencies that are going on. And I have a video that talks about what frequencies are, and you can check that one out after this video if you want to dive deeper on that. As well as if you'd like me to go deeper onto what frequencies and vibrations are, leave a comment down below and I'll definitely talk about that as well. But moving forward into this more is that if you think about it like an iceberg, the physical realm is that tip of the iceberg that's above the ocean of what we can see. The spiritual world is what's below that we can't always perceive of. But we could dive into the water and see the rest of the iceberg. But diving into the water requires a shift in perspective, a shift in our perception of things, which is either a shift that happens from us exploring the inner self, exploring our inner realm within ourselves, or looking at things from new eyes and understanding things from a different state of being. And so that's like mainly the first 2 points I want to talk about here is what spirituality is and that the physical world and spiritual world are not separate. And how we perceive of them is based on us and our experience. Similar to like the light spectrum is very large and there are different kinds of light within it, such as even like UV light or other forms of light that we cannot actually perceive of with our naked eye, but there is a section of it that we can perceive of, which is like the color spectrum or like the visible light that we can see. But there is other things that are in existence in there, like radio waves. You can't see radio waves, but you can hear them. Microwaves, it does warm food up, even though you can't see it happening. Same as you can feel fire from a distance. Now that's temperature. I won't go too far down the physical realm and physics. To dive into all of that. But part of that is just because we can't perceive of it doesn't mean it's not there. The wind, we can feel it, but we can't actually see the wind. But it is there. These are more physical examples that we can kind of test and view. But even quantum mechanics has shown us that within the quantum realm, there is an attributes that exist within there. There are things that are harder for us to see, and we have to zoom into them more to see them. And sometimes they can only be felt or picked up on by new perceptive measures, by new ways that we are not used to perceiving of things. And so that's how the spirit realm works. It's how the higher dimensions work, is that they are in existence, but can we see them? Can we feel them? Can we connect with them? And part of this, the third point I want to talk about, is the deeper layers of the self and of our existence. And understanding that, like, more we dive into the deeper layers of our own internal self, like within ourselves, we are earth, water, fire, wind, all within us. We do have those four elements, as well as we have our own masculine energy within us, our own feminine energy within us, and we have our own most internal self, or our internal inner higher self, or the inner child, aspects like that. We also have the shadow aspect of us. But then on top of that, we are playing in the collective consciousness. There is a collective consciousness that we are all connected to, and that is the collective consciousness of Gaia, or Pachamama, as some traditions refer to it as. See, that's an interesting thing within shamanism. We hear about Pachamama, but when referring to the earth as its own thing, it's Mama Pacha. But Pachamama refers to the earth and all the beings that are on it. All the living consciousnesses that are on top of the earth are also part of Pachamama. And so as we explore our own deeper layers within ourselves, we are also then being able to reflect that and have ripple effects that go into other people and go into other things as we improve ourselves. But also, more we understand our own internal layers, we understand the external layers as well. And so more we understand our own inner fire, our own inner water, like our emotions, our own inner wind, our mindset, the mental realm, our own physical body, we make a ripple effect, and we understand that on a greater level. We actually do understand fire and water and the masculine spirits and the feminine spirits, and understand that you have your own divine masculine and feminine within you, but there is a divine masculine and there is a divine feminine, and they do play and role with each other, but that can only be perceived of more you experience things and the more you go into things. Experiencing things is really about how you gain true knowledge. Now, you can have conceptual knowledge and you can understand things and talk about them and have a great time, and even this video is conceptual knowledge, and hopefully it's inspiring something for you to have an experience while watching this video and to connect with it. But I will give you practical steps at the end to actually go have an experiential learning and knowledge and go deeper into that. And so more we learn about ourselves and experience things, more we understand the world around us. It's similar to, even though we have amazing phones on our cameras now, and we have amazing, cameras out there in the world, there is still the only way you can truly see your own eyes is through the eyes of another. Like the reflection of seeing your eyes in the reflection of somebody else's eyes is the only way you can perceive of your true eyes. Meaning, like, when you look at a mirror, it's actually flipped and is pulling it into a flat surface. Cameras, they're distorting it a little bit, not in a bad way, it's not the truest thing. Same as if you ever used a camera and taken a picture of the moon or the sun, or taken a picture of something and just realized, yeah, that camera did a really good job, but it's not quite like being there in person. Especially if you spend time in nature and take pictures of things of nature, you're like, oh, that was so cool. It's not quite like it was when I was there. And that's because the actual being somewhere, or the looking at yourself in someone else's eyes, actually how you get to know yourself is by experiencing the world, experiencing others. You really want to get to know yourself? Find a balance between the internal self of by yourself and exploring yourself, and being with others and talking with others and experiencing things with others. And I don't mean just humans. This can be with plants, trees, rocks. In shamanism, we believe that all things have a consciousness. All things are vibrating at all times, and they have a consciousness with them. And so there is much more things that are alive and conscious than we think they are conscious. Now, moving into the next thing here about spirituality is there's these terms get thrown around sometimes, like enlightenment or ascension, self-realization. These are actually all the same thing. And that more you self-realize, more you individuate, and more you individuate, more you understand yourself, and you can hit enlightened states and ascended states. And I do personally believe that these come and go, that there are times that we are in an enlightened state, and there are times we're in an ascended state, but we come back from those sometimes based on just what's going on in our life and how things are rolling. And if, there might be actual true ascended masters that are still walking the earth currently, and I do believe there are some, and I've met some amazing shamans and some amazing teachers out there, and some quite powerful gurus, but they still have their own little humanity thing that they struggle with. They still have their little vibration they struggle with. Like even someone as great as Ram Dass, whose main teaching was love everyone and tell the truth. Eventually near the end of his life, he had hit the point where he could actually say, I do love everyone, and the truth is, I do love everyone. But along his journey, sometimes he would say, the truth is actually, I don't love everyone, or I don't understand how to give love to everybody, and I do have my own frustrations and so forth. And so it's not about being a perfect being, but it's about hitting these enlightened states or the ascended states where you can exist in and pull information from, and they make a ripple effect in your life. But know that it's kind of like an ebb and flow. Just like your lungs can't always expand, they can't always be contracting either. For if they always expand, they'll explode. If they contract too much, they'll shrivel up. And so I think when you actually hit that point of somebody that's like a full ascended master, truly enlightened, they have nothing left to learn on this plane of existence, they actually can leave this plane of existence and they can go somewhere else. And that's a different topic for another time to dive into. But with that, and a part of this is the understanding that self-realization, enlightenment, and ascension, they're all the same thing. They're just different terms for different things. And they're different pathways up the same mountain. And so the path of self-realization leads you up the path of ascension. The path of ascension leads you up the mountain of self-realization. And those are both going up the mountain range of enlightenment.